Are you tired of marketing strategies that feel manipulative, exhausting, or just plain icky? In this episode, we're diving deep with Rai Cornell, strategic marketing consultant and founder of Cornell Content Marketing, to uncover how psychology driven marketing can attract 90% pre sold buyers without relying on ads or pressure tactics. You'll learn how to build long term demand, understand the mindset of savvy modern buyers, and reframe your approach to growth sustainably and authentically. So, Rai, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
I'm excited to have this conversation because I know there are a lot of people who know they're supposed to be out there marketing, but feel, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be seen as that kind of person. And so I think they're going to welcome the information that you have to share today. And I wanted to just start with the fact that you have journeyed from mental health to marketing. And I would love for you to talk about what inspired that shift and how does it influence your strategy today?
Yeah, so I was originally going to school to be a counselor in the prison system. So I got a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's in professional clinical counseling and marriage and family therapy, and then a second master's in criminology. And for anybody who's ever gone into social services, there's just tons of schooling and training and licensure and testing and all the things. And so I was going through that whole process. I worked at a drug rehab facility in San Diego. I worked at a mental hospital and community counseling center here in Texas. And all the while, I was paying my way through school and in this, training situation that you don't get paid to do by being a freelance writer. And it wasn't until I was working in a mental hospital and I just completely burned out on the mental health world and the bureaucracy of it and the revolving door of it all. And just, it's like trying to save someone from drowning and both hands are tied behind your back. There's so little that you can actually do in that formalized industry that I just left. I just completely left. I loved my patients. I loved the work I was doing with them, but I didn't like the system. And I really enjoyed being able to write for websites and companies, creating their content marketing. And so throwing myself full time into that for the first few years, I was bitter. I was like, man, I just spent 8 years getting these degrees and doing all the training and, racking up all these hours that I needed for licensure. And I was so close to getting my license. And I didn't talk about my mental health career, as a freelance writer. I didn't talk about it for a really long time. And it wasn't until I was having a call with a new client who asked me, so do you have a degree in business or marketing or, what's your educational background? I said, no, I don't have degrees in any of those things, but my degrees are in psychology and criminology. And the client goes, no way. Oh, that's so interesting. There's so much overlap between psychology and marketing. And I just had this kind of epiphany moment. And ever since then, it's just like the clouds have parted and everything makes so much more sense because I've now developed this framework for marketing strategy that layers all of the behavior change models that I used with my patients into marketing psychology, or marketing strategy and content marketing to create these really neurologically feel good buyer journeys.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about the different types of marketing that people can be doing, obviously. And you talk about how traditional advertising can hurt long-term growth. So I would love for you to talk about why, what are those red flags that we should be watching for in our current approach?
Yeah. So the reason I love marketing, and let me first say, we're all consumers. We are all on the receiving end of marketing and ads all the time. And when I went full time in this industry, I thought about what do I like to receive as a consumer and what do I not like to receive? And there's a big difference between marketing, advertising, and sales. And in my experience, the things that people really don't like are actually advertising and sales. But marketing is a relationship. It is educating people. It is helping people. Marketing is not where you should be doing your selling. Marketing is not where you should be bombarding people with offers and discounts and all of those things. Those are advertisements. So I think the first step in all of this to correcting either your perception of your marketing or your marketing itself is to really fix the definition that you have in your mind of what marketing truly is.
That's a really good point, because I'm sure some people listening are thinking, what do you mean marketing and advertising are different, right? They consider it the same thing. It's just a different word, right? And so how do they then redefine that, in terms, you've just briefly talked about that, but do you want to go a little bit deeper in terms of the differences between the two?
Yeah. So the way I think of it is advertising is putting high pressure messages in front of people in places where they normally wouldn't look. So billboards, for example, you're driving, you're looking for the store you're trying to pull into, you're, headed to your doctor's appointment or your kid's school to pick them up, and you're getting distracted from billboards all along the road. Or you're trying to enjoy a nice Sunday afternoon and you're scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever your guilty pleasure might be. And you're trying to see content that you enjoy from people you follow. And then boom, advertisement. It's interrupting what you actually want. That's advertising. And typically the content on those advertisements is, hurry up and get this deal. This is going to go away really fast, or you're dumb if you don't do this, or, it doesn't make you feel good. It's trying to disrupt you from doing what you were originally doing and get you to do something completely different using very manipulative tactics. Marketing, on the other hand, is meeting people where they already are, offering them something that's actually helpful to helping them find a solution, which is the thing that you offer. So, for example, marketing is creating content that people find through Google search or nowadays AI search. It's creating organic content that allows someone to find you on social or share you. Somebody in their network has shared your content because it was helpful, not because it's bombarding them with a hurry up and get this 20% off coupon before Friday. No, it's creating content that's actually helpful that then gets shared and sent to people who might also benefit from your content. Or it's people who have, you're offering some sort of resource. In marketing, we call it a lead magnet. They opt in for that. And then you are sending them emails that further educate them on what it is you do, how you help them, the results you've been able to get for previous customers or clients. You're not emailing them, flash sale, hurry up and get this before it's gone. No, you're emailing them helpful resources. So I'm hoping that for anyone listening to this starts to create more of a divide in your mind between what marketing is and what advertising is. One is helpful and goes where people are naturally looking for answers to a problem they legitimately have. The other is disruptive and introduces problems that really don't exist.
So if someone is listening and saying, okay, well, I think I've been doing a lot of advertising and not marketing, I want to switch. And so they come up with a plan on what they're going to do. Obviously at some point you kind of need to have a call to action to get people to want to pursue you. So how do you balance that to give them the marketing and the content and all the helpful resources, but yet still attract them to take the next step and move forward with you?
Yeah. So the thing to keep in mind with all of this is today's buyers are very different. If we look at buyers from 15, 30, 50 years ago, people didn't know what they wanted or that resources were available or solutions were available. When salesmen went door to door trying to sell Cutco knives or whatever the case may be, people didn't know that there was a better way. And people who purchased, the ones who felt like it was actually their choice and not just some high pressure situation, they felt like, oh, this is great. I never would have found out about this otherwise. Today, the world is very different. People find out about solutions constantly, nonstop. They're either talking to their friends or they're scrolling on social, or, the internet is readily available to us. And where we used to have to go to an encyclopedia to find out what's the capital of Idaho, now you can just talk it into your phone and find out in 2.5 seconds. So understanding the fact that people don't need help discovering solutions, they need help making the best choice on which solution is right for them. That really frames up how you do your marketing. So the point is, you need to let the buyer have the element of control that they're really craving. Because nowadays, when people are approached by sales reps or, ads in your face, their walls go up. They go, no, 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 no. I wasn't looking for this. Don't cold call me. Don't call me while I'm trying to make dinner or while I'm trying to get my kids ready for school. Stop trying to intrude on my life. If I need something, I'll come to you. You have to allow that to happen, because that's when the guard comes down. So knowing that there are people out there looking for the solution that you offer, you have to lean into that pathway and intercept them. And then you allow them to guide the process by thinking through, okay, if they are, let me go back one step. In my marketing strategies, I build what are called the stages of change. And this is based on a model that I used in substance abuse counseling, of helping guide people through the process of giving up drugs and designing a new, healthier lifestyle for themselves. It is not a black and white situation. It's not one day you're an addict and the next day you're not. It is a very gradual process, and there's different stages that people go through. We adapt that to marketing as well. So you have to understand, where are people in their buying journey? Are they feeling the pains of a problem, but they don't really know what the problem is? Have they identified what the problem is, but now they're out there looking for solutions? Have they found solutions and you want to be among them and help them choose yours over the competition? You have to understand those different states of mind and then create content for each of those states of mind.
Mm-hmm. Right. So really, you're saying that they already know they have a need, and when they find the resources that you're sharing and see that you're the right fit, they're going to come to you. So you don't really have to be doing the advertising, pushing the ads, doing the sales calls, all the things, because they're generally going to come to you if you're the right fit.
Exactly. We live in such a solution-oriented world nowadays with, this is all Google's fault. The term Google it is what is driving this societal behavior pattern, where people have a question in their heads or they have a problem and they instantly go to Google or Amazon or their LinkedIn network. They go to these places looking for answers, and they don't quite know what the answer might look like. It might be, oh, you need to hire this person, or you need to buy this product, or you need to change your mindset. There are tons of different ways that they're open to receiving a solution. And you need to be there as soon as they go from having the pain and not knowing what to do about it to seeking an answer for what to do about that problem. And you also have to understand the stages that came before their seeking behavior so that you can relate to them on an empathetic level. They need to feel seen, heard, and understood rather than chased. Nobody nowadays wants to feel like somebody is coming after the dollars in my pocket. Nobody wants to feel that way. Everyone wants to feel like the companies they're purchasing from are actually in service to them and making their lives better. So be that.
Mm-hmm. So I know we had talked in the introduction about, you talk about pre-selling buyers. So what does it really mean to pre-sell 90% of your buyers using psychology, and what does that look like in action?
Yeah. So this is the my favorite part about building out these marketing funnels, because when you lean into buyer psychology and you understand buyer behavior change and you're putting the content in front of them at the right time, and you have content that represents each of those stages of change, what happens is you become the brand that is activating dopamine, activating oxytocin, activating endorphins and serotonin. You are getting their brain happy, and they are associating those feel good sensations with you. Now, they probably can't tell you, oh, this company activated my dopamine, and so that's why I like them. They don't know that. All they know is whenever they see your brand, they feel relief. They feel a sense of progress. They feel a sense of belonging, and like, this company gets it. They get me. They're using the words I'm using. And so when you do that and you're the brand that is giving them that internal experience, they become 80 to 90% pre-sold on you. Now, there's this whole statistic in B2B marketing in particular that says buyers, B2B buyers, do 70% of the buyer journey by themselves before they're willing and ready to talk to a sales rep. So you need to, as much as you can, while keeping the buyer in the driver's seat, you need to be the navigator in the co-pilot seat saying, okay, turn here, turn there. Okay, now there's your destination up ahead on the left. You need to be the one guiding them while they can still do the actual driving. And when you do that with your marketing and you fill these gaps, so they're getting all the information they need, they feel like a smart, savvy, well-informed buyer who's going to make a smart decision, even though emotion and all of those neurotransmitter hits are the ones actually driving their behavior. You're the one that they ultimately want to choose, even if you might be more expensive than the other two competitors on the list.
So let's say somebody sees a post you make on social media, you share, a helpful piece of content about something, and they like it and they're like, okay, this is great. This answered a question I have. But they're not following you on social media. It was just something that came up. Maybe a friend, had seen it, so it showed it to them. You obviously want to be able to get them onto, let's say, your email list where you can then be showing them different helpful pieces of information too. So how do you go from you just pop up on someone's screen, they just happen to see it, to actually being able to continue to market to them, to give them the information, to build that trust so that they are pre-sold, and want to come to you for that service?
Yeah. So with this kind of psychology-driven marketing, I'm not saying, and I know you're not telling me that this is it, but I want to make this clear to anybody who's listening. I'm not saying don't use calls to action. What I'm saying is use the right call to action. So one of the first things that I fix in the companies that I work with is when I do my initial audit of their content, I do my visibility audit, I look at what's the psych eval of your brand persona? What does your brand look like to people who are perceiving you from the outside? And I see on their social and on their website, all of their calls to action are book a call, book a demo, inquire for pricing. Those are bottom funnel calls to action being used in top of funnel places. What you need to do, exactly to your point. So let's follow that scenario. Let's say you're putting out helpful content on social and someone who is a follower of yours shares it with a friend. How do you get that friend to then follow you? Well, in your social, you should have something on your images or in your post content that either has a link directly to your profile, like at yourself or hashtag yourself, or a follow us for more tips about XYZ, or follow us to learn more about how to alleviate this problem that they might have. That's how you get them to go, oh yeah, I would like to improve this area of my life or my business. Let me go look at that and let me follow so that I can get more information like this, because that was really helpful. So you have to put the right calls to action in the right place. Then as you're putting out more content, you can always say, hey, here's this resource that we created for you. Hop on over to this page and put in your name and email address in order to receive it. There's nothing wrong with that. That is moving people through your funnel and getting them more and more and more engaged over time. The right place for those: book a call, book a demo. I have very strong feelings about the whole inquire for pricing thing. So that's for another topic. But those bottom funnel calls to action, those should be in your emails, on your website, on certain pages that indicate that people are already interested in your services, like your service pages. Put them in the right place.
Mm-hmm. So how does someone really know what is the right one? Like you gave a great example for like on social media, right? And they can just follow your page, but there's a whole lot in between follow us and book a call. So how do they know what is the right thing to give at the right time so they do have an appropriate call to action?
Yeah. So think about the places that you put your content, whether that's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, Medium, Substack, wherever you're putting your content. If it's someplace that people can publicly find that information, maybe they're just stumbling upon you, that's where you want to use things like follow us. Like just stay in our field of, or what do we call it? Like stay in our aura. One of my previous clients used to call it that, like creating this aura, like stay within our aura and learn more about what we do. That's all you're asking for people. It's kind of like, I feel like this analogy is so overused. One of these days, somebody needs to think of a better one. But it's like when you're dating, right? When you meet someone, it's like, okay, well, would you like to go for a second coffee? Maybe we can just text each other, learn a little bit more about each other. That's what you're doing. You're not going to jump right to, okay, let's get married, until you're far more involved in the person and their process, and they have had a chance to learn about you and you learn about them. So the middle ground, which is, hey, let me see if you actually have a problem that we can solve. That's where your lead magnets come in. That's where people create things like calculators or worksheets or how-to guides in PDF form or a video course. The only people who are going to opt in for that and give you their name and email are people who have the problem that you're starting to teach them how to solve. So it's all about making sure that you are aware that everywhere that you are is not everywhere that you should be selling. It's the farther out your reach, the less pressure you should be putting on that next point of engagement.
Mm-hmm. Right. That makes perfect sense. Right. So for those who have been told you have to be doing ads, right? We hear all the time, Facebook ads, Google ads, all these things. You need to be doing ads, or maybe offering a discount for a first-time customer just to attract them, to get them to try your product or service, and then, they'll continue on. Like, what would you say to them to stop doing those kind of things that really aren't as effective maybe as they think they are, and then moving into the direction that you're talking about now?
Yeah, so the reason that I tend to take a very anti-ad stance is because the vast, vast majority of businesses do it wrong. And so those are wasted dollars. The thing that I love about content marketing is I have a former client. I wrote for Pretty Litter for many, many years, the color changing cat litter. And I started their blog way back in the day. They have content that I wrote on their website that is still driving visibility, traffic, and sales today. They paid me for it once. Couple $100, they paid for it once, and it's lived online all these years and just built and built and built its value while the cost remained fixed. Ads are the opposite. With ads, you have to pour more and more and more money into it every single month. And the algorithm changes, the way people interact with ads changes, the tricks and just all the tactics and their efficacy changes. And so over time, you end up spending more money and getting less out of it. And the second you turn that money off, the second your results plummet. So it's not, unless you have really mastered ads. So there is a company that I work with, it's called Dragon 360. They're phenomenal at ads, but they know where to put ads, how to use ads to build visibility and brand awareness instead of using those first ad impressions to make a sale or book a call, or you're jumping way ahead. You need to use ads for the right purpose at the right time. And you need to really truly understand who you're trying to reach and where they hang out if you're going to pour money into them. So a lot of people think, oh, I have to be running Google PPC ads, or I have to be running Meta ads. Well, what if you're a business consultant or a financial advisor who only wants to work with real estate agents who are in commercial business develop or commercial building development? They're not on Facebook. They're not on TikTok. They're on LinkedIn. So if you're pouring all of this money into Meta and Google and your audience is not there, you're wasting that money. So all that to say, you have to go through a process of first figuring out, who am I really trying to reach? Next, what do I need to say to make them understand that I understand them, that I understand their problem, and that I have some solutions that can help them overcome that problem? And then third, where are they going to go to find solutions to their problem? Are they going to Reddit or LinkedIn or Google or AI search? Each of those is going to require a very different tactic, and you should only put your money where your audience is.
Well, and I agree in terms of the ads. And you were talking earlier about if you're, scrolling on Facebook or something too, and you want to be catching up with friends, and all of a sudden there are all these ads, it becomes frustrating. And I've heard so many people saying recently too, like, this used to be a social network and now it's all ads, and people are just getting really tired of that too. So I do see where that just doesn't make it valuable really for you to even be putting money into that if people don't even want to see them, and you're frustrating them more than attracting them. Right?
Exactly right. And that's the other thing that I really struggle with ad strategies, is that they're constantly evolving because humans are constantly trying to avoid ads. Why would you pour money into something that everyone wants to avoid? Whereas everyone is seeking out information. So if you can provide information, whether that's on YouTube or a podcast or blog content that gets picked up by Google and AI search, people are seeking that, whereas people are paying YouTube and Amazon Prime, Fire Stick TV. They're paying all of these platforms to take away the ads. You have to work with human behavior, not against it.
Right. Well, this has been a very informative discussion, and I know we're coming to the end of the time we have together for this episode. So I wanted to ask, do you have an offer that you would like to extend to our listeners? And if people want more information, they want to touch base with you, how can they contact you?
Yeah. So I know that this way of thinking about marketing is very contrary to, what you see big companies doing out there and all of that. But if you like this idea of leaning into human behavior and having more of an organic relationship building type marketing strategy, but you don't know where to start, I have what I call the Demand Generation Brainstorming Kit. It's a free resource. You can go to my website, which is cornellcontentmarketing.com, and find the Demand Gen Brainstorming Kit. And this will walk you through the process of getting into the mind of your ideal buyer, and then helping you brainstorm content that is going to map to that buyer journey, so you know exactly what to create, where to put it, and how to start building that relationship organically.
Wow, thank you for that helpful information, Ray. I really appreciate your joining me today and having this discussion and teaching those who are listening, what they should be doing as well for marketing and not advertising. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, Candy.
And to the listener, if you enjoyed today's topic and you want to hear additional information, you can find access to exclusive content in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.